I bet you weren't expecting this video from me this early, but fortunately enough, I have had the iPad Air 4 for the past couple of days, and although I have so much more content I want to share, like in-depth tests and comparisons, today I want to share my full review as I've had quality time with this, enough to have, successfully implemented it into my everyday student workflow here. And of course, before we jump into this review, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on this video if you want to, of course, if it warrants a like, and if you want to leave a comment, a question, or a suggestion as well, that's great too. Engagement helps my content perform better. And if you are subscribed, be sure to click the bell icon, as it does help the channel out a lot. Beginning with design, as I always seem to say in my review videos, the iPad Pro 2018 was popular with its radical new look, so much so over the past few years that Apple decided to implement that look into the new iPhones and the iPad Air 4th generation. As you can see, gone are the curved edges, and this device very much resembles that of an iPad Pro 11-inch, plus or minus a couple aspects or characteristics. For example, there is no antenna line here like on the Pro, although we do have some features like the smart connector and the camera look here, as well as an attachable Apple Pencil. This device now supports Apple Pencil 2nd generation, which is great because you no longer have to charge it like an awkward unicorn. So this is an iPad Pro feature that has been brought to this iPad, and I'm very happy about it. We also have USB Type-C here, which is great for connectivity and charging. I'll touch on that more in a few minutes here. And of course, gone is the home button. We now have gesture-based navigation. And speaking of no home button, where did Touch ID go? Where's biometrics? Well, if you watch the Apple event or know anything about this tablet, we have Touch ID in the power button, which is just phenomenal. I am so happy that Apple finally decided to do this, and I hope that they implement it into more products because it just works so well. So all you have to do is just rest your finger or click the button, and you can unlock like so. It's very quick. It's just as quick as what you can find with the iPad Air 3, of course, and the iPhone SE. I love it, and once again, I hope that Apple brings this to more of their products. It just works so well, and the placement is very convenient as well. And with this device unlocked, now we can comment on the size of the bezels. The positive aspect is they look so much better compared to that of the iPad Air 3. We finally have a full screen display here, just like we have with the iPad Pro. The negative aspect is that they are a bit thicker compared to that of the iPad Pro, but of course, Apple has to differentiate these two devices, and if this makes this device cheaper to produce, then I'm all for it because the display still is really beautiful. I'll touch on the display aspects, of course, in a minute here. And yeah, once again, having the full screen display and the navigational gestures is just really awesome, and a pro feature that many have been wanting on a cheaper or more affordable iPad. Something else that I had mentioned is the addition of the smart connector. Not that the Air 3 didn't have one, but the placement is different with the Air 4. It's in the sort of iPad Pro spot, meaning that this device can make use of the Magic Keyboard, which was packaged ambiguously titled for iPad. So the Air 4 has been in the works for a minute here, and this accessory is phenomenal, albeit, not perfect. I did a review of this a couple months back, so I recommend you watch that video, but I really enjoy this. I would have loved to have had this in high school when I used an iPad Air 2, so the Air 4 gets this finally, and yeah, I mean, like, the keyboard, very MacBook Air-like. It has great travel, it has a backlight, and it's powered by the iPad. You don't have to charge it or anything, and the iPad attaches very conveniently magnetically, just like the iPad Pro does. I mean, it's basically the same form factor as the iPad Pro 11-inch. This case also works with the iPad Pro 11-inch, as I just said a minute ago, and yeah, I mean, it's a great accessory, and since this iPad is $200 cheaper than the Pro 11-inch, this whole package is more affordable. So if you want that laptop-like experience, especially with the trackpad here, which works beautifully with iPadOS, once again, this is just more accessible now. And of course, once again, watch my review video if you want a more in-depth look of this accessory. The speaker setup is also a bit different this year. Although there are still two physical drivers, unlike the iPad Pro, which has quad speakers, they're placed differently now, one on either side, meaning that you're not covering them up and you get a true spatial, stereo experience, which I can demo right here, playing some copyright-free music, of course. So yeah, this has definitely enhanced my media consumption experience, and by nature, an iPad is a media consumption device. Of course, it's also a powerful tool, which we'll touch on, but yeah, better experience overall consuming audio, whether it's coming from, Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube or Netflix or whatever app you're using. I'll also touch on, once again, USB Type-C. This is great not only for just more convenient charging, but you just get a more versatile port, which allows you to plug into dongles and drives and such. So if you want to do any kind of creative work or anything that involves involves external accessories, it's just better in that regard. And I might touch on this a bit more in this video here. And finally, I want to talk about the gorgeous new colors. Of course, it comes in silver and space gray. Gold is gone, but now you can buy it in rose gold and a green color and this beautiful sky blue color. It's very subtle, but I very much enjoy it here. It's not too in your face, but it's definitely fun and more, student or young people oriented, but I think anybody would enjoy this nice pale blue. I certainly do. Next up, let's touch on display here. And as I said previously, it is now a full screen display like that of the iPad Pro. It is 10.9 inches diagonally, a little bit smaller than the 11-inch iPad Pro, which makes the bezels a little bit bigger, but again, that's not that big of a deal. And in terms of the actual display quality with the panel, it's the same, if not better, compared to that of the iPad Air 3. It has 500 nits max brightness, it has P3 color, it's laminated, and it has True Tone, which just makes this display, warm and cool when it should be. And of course, as you can imagine, this is a great device for media consumption, like YouTube videos and stuff. Although the 4:3 aspect ratio is a little bit awkward for widescreen video, the Tab S7 and the Tab S6 Lite might be a little bit better for that. But yeah, overall, a great video watching experience if you want to use Netflix or YouTube, as I said once again here. And the display is also big enough to do some multitasking, so I can, swipe up from the bottom here, access the dock, and I can swipe over to get Safari here. Of course, this is pretty much the same size as the iPad Pro 11-inch, and before I had my daily driver 12.9-inch, I managed with this more than happily. It was more than big enough, especially with its virtual keyboard here. It is nicely sized here, not too small at all. And of course, this does accommodate a nice keyboard size with the Magic Keyboard as I demoed a few minutes ago. But yeah, this is definitely a big enough tablet to get some work done if you want. Here I can also, of course, bring open GoodNotes, which I have over here somewhere. I was using it earlier yesterday, actually, and today to take notes in my accounting and my business statistics course that I'm totally not failing right now. But anyway, I can open up Safari here and bring that over to the left. And if I wanted to, I don't know, reference something online, I could do so over here. And of course, I can switch the windows here. So yeah, this is a very intuitive and fluid experience. And again, the display is more than big enough to accommodate it. And despite this tablet being big enough, it's also a nice portable form factor. My friend Isaac, you might know him as Canoopsy, swears by this form factor. He daily drives a Pro 11-inch. So this is the exact same size once again. So you can fit this into a bag or a purse or whatever more easily. I have enjoyed not lugging around my 12.9-inch while I've had this, although I do prefer the bigger form factor, so I'll probably compare this to that tablet later in like a different video. But yeah, this is a very portable tablet, not too small, not too big. It's like the Goldilocks standard, I would say, just about right for everyone, regardless of what you're doing. And of course, we have to address the refresh rate or the lack thereof with this tablet. The iPad Pro, of course, has a beautiful ProMotion 120 Hz display, which makes for a really fluid and amazing scrolling and drawing experience and stuff like that. But with this tablet, Apple decided to opt out of that and leave that or designate that ProMotion as a pro feature. With this tablet, we're just stuck at 60 Hz, which, is a little bit disappointing if you compare them. But honestly, I am not unhappy with this tablet at all. Of course, I do prefer ProMotion because I am a, sweaty tech nerd that notices the difference. But for most consumers, they're just not going to care. That's why a lot of people aren't super broken up about the fact that the iPhone 12 doesn't have a high refresh rate display. It would be nice. Of course, I wish this was standard, but as of right now, it's not that big of a deal, and I'll show you why here. So I can open up GoodNotes, can actually make it full screen. This is my accounting class. I'm trying to understand LIFO, FIFO, and something LIFO, I don't even know. I have to review. I'm a horrible student. Anyway, the latency with this pencil, with the 2nd gen pencil, is great, despite the fact that you have half the refresh rate with that of the iPad Pro. I really enjoy it. It's really like, there's no delay. You feel like you're writing on paper. And speaking of which, although this video isn't technically sponsored by them, Paperlike is now a channel sponsor. And, I really endorse their product because I use it every day with my iPad Pro and my iPad Air. I can live by it and swear by it. It allows you to take notes with that of a paper-like texture. I used to use composition notebooks and paper and pen all the time, and this substitutes that feel. That's the one thing I miss. I love having all my notes consolidated, but at the same time, I wanted that feel, and this brings that to life. So I highly recommend you pick one of these up. I'll leave a link in the video description. It's an affiliate link, so if you buy one, it actually helps out the channel and of course helps you to have a more, realistic writing experience. So consider that, of course. And yeah, with note-taking in general here, it's just a really fluid experience. I would say 85% of that in my iPad Pro. Of course, the ProMotion does make it a little bit more lifelike and fun to scroll around and stuff, but I would say it doesn't make or break the experience. If you want to have an amazing virtual note-taking experience, the iPad Air 4 can give you that, even more so than that of the iPad Air 3 and the iPad Mini and the iPad 8th Gen, which are great themselves in that regard. And of course, beyond writing and drawing and sketching, which this device is great at, gaming is also something you should consider with this. This is a great gaming device, as was the iPad Air 3, and of course the iPad 8th Gen and the iPad Mini with the A12. The A14 in here is plenty powerful, and I will touch on that in a few minutes here, but you know, your games are gonna cap out at 60 FPS, no problem with the hardware inside, and the experience that I've had with this tablet so far has been great, but of course, I will touch on this more in the performance aspect of this video. Next up, let's touch on battery life here, and I'll keep this brief. I mean, like, iPads always generally have great all-day battery life. Of course, it's a bit more nuanced than that, and I don't do the most insane scientific testing myself, but I can give you an actual figure. I had my iPad Air 4 charged to 100% at the beginning of the day on Monday. I was in a 2-hour statistics lecture where I comprehended probably 20% of what the person said, and that's exactly how much my iPad battery diminished. It went from 100 to 80%, so that's really impressive for having, you know, the display at 75% brightness and just with continuous usage and all that. So that's where 60 Hertz might come in handy. I mean, my iPad Pro 12.9 inch definitely drains a little bit quicker. I feel like, I mean, maybe it's the same rate, and even if it is, it's still impressive. So you could definitely get through a whole day of note-taking and lugging this around campus, although none of us can really do that because, you know, of the current wonderful situation that we're in. But yeah, I mean, hypothetically speaking, you could get through a whole day in college or wherever you are with this device, no problem. And of course, having a USB Type-C wall charger nearby is convenient as well, especially if you are pushing this tablet to its max. And the fact that you can charge this tablet with the same cable you can charge your, you know, MacBook or modern laptop with is nice to know as well. Next up, let's quickly touch on camera here. And this is a category I'm gonna briefly go over as well, because if you know anything about me, iPad or tablet cameras aren't that important to me so long as they allow me to do like FaceTime or video chat or just basic picture taking of mundane stuff like papers and whatever. That's all I care about. But luckily for you, if you are into tablet photography and videography, Apple decided to implement the iPad Pro 2018's camera into here. So we have a 12 megapixel sensor capable of 4K 60 video and, you know, great 12 megapixel photos. No flash here though. This is a little microphone. I was a bit disappointed by that because a flash is very handy in the dark when you are taking pictures of, you know, detail oriented stuff like papers. But yeah, this is a great camera setup. You know, overkill still, I think. I mean, I would have been happy with the 8 megapixel sensor, but I mean, I'm happy that they threw this in here, even though there is a bit of a camera bump. There's also a 7 megapixel front facing camera now capable of 1080p 60 videos. So if you are into this stuff, I mean, go for it, use it, you know, enjoy it. But for me, I mean, I'm happy that it's there. It's just not the most important feature to me personally. And finally, let's touch on my favorite category, which is performance. And I know what you're thinking, how does this tablet compare to the iPad Pro? Well, I'm gonna stop you there because number one, I wanna save that for a different video. And number two, I have yet to do an in-depth real world test between the two. So stay tuned for that, it's coming very soon here. But what I can tell you is the performance is very impressive, especially compared to the Air 3, which packed the A12. So I'll show you the Geekbench scores here. They're great. I mean, 1580 in the single core scores, 4200 in the multi-core scores, which means that everyday tasks are blazing fast. I mean, apps open very, very quickly. The animations are always buttery smooth despite the fact that we don't have ProMotion here. And the multitasking experience is great as well, even though we don't have 6 gigs of RAM, which is present in the iPad Pro. But again, that is a Pro feature here, but I haven't had any issues with apps refreshing. But yeah, the overall everyday performance is going to be stellar. And of course, with the high multi-core scores, you can do stuff beyond note-taking and, you know, like web surfing and whatever. You can do some pro work. And I was thinking about this, although, you know, the iPad Pro is labeled Pro and it is, you know, kind of designed for professionals, this device with USB Type-C and all the iPad Pro-like features could be great for somebody who wants to start doing video editing or photo editing. I mean, there's so many great apps. As I've continued to tell you through my videos here, we have Lightroom, we have Lumafusion, one of my favorites here. If I wasn't a Mac editor, I would absolutely use this. It is a very complete and professional video editing tool, and I love it, and so many people swear by it. I know YouTubers who, you know, specifically use this program to video edit because it's so nuanced and feature-packed, and of course there's, you know, keyboard shortcuts. I could go on. And of course there's great drawing apps like Procreate, although I don't particularly use it myself. You can, you know, use it to create beautiful artwork, you know, like editable artwork, and I know like art schools that let students use iPads. So I mean, this is a very powerful creative tool. And although it isn't an iPad Pro, it might as well be. I mean, yes, you don't have ProMotion, and yes, you don't have an X variant processor, or the slimmest bezels or whatever, but this again can be used to do so many different things, and the A14 is a very impressive processor. And beyond creative stuff, of course, I touched on gaming here. The gaming experience is phenomenal, I think. I mean, yes, you might want higher refresh rate, and some games might be able to give you a 120 FPS experience, but any game that you play with this device is going to cap out at 60, no problem, I think. And I mean, like, some people are used to 30 FPS gaming with consoles, although the Xbox Series X and the PS5 are going to challenge that, but still, I mean, the gaming experience here has been great, especially with the controller. I've enjoyed my time playing Minecraft and a COD, and I'll definitely be playing more games. If you guys want a designated gaming test, I'd be happy to offer that as well during the next few days. But yeah, this is a great gaming machine as well as a great creative tool. And beyond what you can do with the tablet here, the operating system is just very refined, albeit, limited in some ways. It can't run .exe files, of course, or .dmg applications, so you are lacking some pro apps here, despite the fact that the App Store has a great app selection. But it's just very, once again, refined and fluid. I very much enjoy it. Yeah, it's not quite Mac OS, but Mac OS is going in the ARM direction anyway, so you get future proofing and you just get great features. For example, here, if you don't want to buy a keyboard, or if you can't afford to buy a keyboard, and I was in that position at one point back in 2019, my YouTube channel wasn't going anywhere at that point, and I bought an iPad Pro 11-inch, and I could only afford it and the Apple Pencil. Believe it or not, some people don't believe me when I say that, but I'm telling you that I could not afford a keyboard case or anything. So I had to stick with the Apple Pencil, and I hated having to use the keyboard because I love the pencil so much. And Apple, recognized this. I'm sure some users told them this, and they implemented, Scribble, which is, basically transcribes your, awful handwriting in my case, and makes it into editable text. So I can say, hi, name. I'm having a stroke here, but regardless, you can actually, do that. And my handwriting is terrible, and if you see my B-roll, my friend's handwriting is terrible, but it works so well, and it makes for a very intuitive experience, as every text field can be, written on. So I can write, like, I don't know, like Apple News, for example, although I have it right here, I'll write it again. And what's great is if you mess up a word, like let's say it doesn't like your word, like apps, because I just really butchered it there, I can just scribble it out, cross it out and try again here, so I can write Apple. And then, I don't know, like I can write iPhone after maybe, or add that to this, iPhone, and then search that without having to pull up my keyboard. So I very much enjoyed that feature, being able to write in any text field, and it's made even better with the low latency and the full screen with the iPad Air 4. So while I would have loved to have seen, 120 hertz with this device, and I hope that's a standard in the future, and, like slimmer bezels and everything, what Apple offers here for $599 seems very reasonable. Once again, they took so many of the great features with iPad Pro and brought them down to a more consumer-friendly tablet. Everything that people care about, everything that's eye-catching and important with the iPad Pro is here, and the performance is nearly as good. And I can absolutely see college students gravitating towards this. I actually had a friend today text me that he pre-ordered this, so that's already coming to fruition. And if you are a, wannabe, not in a bad way, creative professional, this is a great device to go to, as it has USB Type-C. Once again, you can attach drives, and it's, more affordable if you want to have the pencil as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a really great bang for your buck iPad. It might even be the best one out there from what I can tell as of right now. And that about wraps things up here. I hope this video was helpful. Once again, the iPad Air 4 is just a fantastic value, and I cannot wait to cover it more. So be sure to leave a like, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and subscribe for more content like this. I have so many in-depth tests to do and comparisons between this and the iPad Air 3 and the iPad Pro, so, stay tuned for that. Oh, and before I end this video here, I want to give a sort of professional shout out to a friend of mine, Lucas, who is starting a company called Follow Paw, and as you can imagine, it's animal-oriented. Basically, his company is creating a smart, tech-oriented, a smart leash or whatever. I have one right here. He sent me a pre-production model, even though I don't have a dog. He just wanted me to see what the quality was like, and it's made out of environmentally friendly materials, cork. It's very, high quality. The clasp is very easy to engage and disengage. And you may be wondering, Noah, why are you showing me a dog collar? Maybe you're just being a nice friend for someone to start a business, but what's the MO here? Well, what's special about Follow Paw is that you might be able to in the future follow your dog with the use of any particular smart tiles that you can put in here, hint, hint, air tags. And it can fit right into the collar here if I can find it maybe somewhere. Here it is. So there's a little component in the actual collar which allows you to put a tile or a, smart tile equivalent, which could come from Apple or really any other company. So as this sort of tech gets better, you could put this in here and theoretically follow your dog wherever it goes, And if Apple releases such a device, I'm not a speculation channel, so I don't want to get too far into that, but if they release that type of product here, it's going to piggyback off of, every iDevice in your country, so you could really track your dog, very thoroughly, and it'll give you peace of mind. But anyway, regardless, it's just a really great collar. I highly recommend you check it out if you are meaning to get a new one. I'll leave a link in the video description along with the link to Paperlike if you are interested in picking one of those up. Again, both are affiliate links as well, so if you want to purchase either a Paperlike screen protector or that, you're helping me out as well here on YouTube. But yeah, it's a great collar. I highly recommend you check out their site and, pick one up for when any smart tile-like devices come out. But anyway, that is about it for today. Once again, expect more content from me. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.